Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 22 of Fabrically Speaking Live. And I am not sure if I'm online or not because I can't hear myself or see my show on YouTube. It says I'm live. There we go. Hello everybody. Well, I'm hoping you can hear me better this week than you did last week. Things are wonky and we have a fire that is causing a lot of smoke in the air and I'm not feeling well as a result of it, so bear with me. Trying to get things to show up how they're supposed to. Are you guys there? Did it take us to a different place? I know I didn't give you guys any warning that I was going live. So hopefully those of you who are subscribed are seeing that I'm online. I don't know what's going on, why the things aren't looking right. Hi, Jan. Okay, so it was strange because I went live and then where I normally see myself, it didn't show me as on. So who knows? Hello, Facebook user. If you want me to be able to identify your name, go ahead and go inside of Facebook and there's on the screen the 3 dots and you click and you allow you go into app settings and allow Restream to see your ID. Otherwise, you can just tell me who you are when you comment. Hi, Jacqueline. Would this thing please leave me alone? Close. Lots of things in the area were a little weird today. I went shopping because, and some of you are going to be really excited about this, I have a new camera setting, which is this one. So right here, and hopefully this camera won't go in and out of focus too much, but I'm going to be able to really give you guys a different angle, but you see how it kind of bounces? So bear with me on the bouncy real close cam, but this camera I can also move and show you the machine settings as I'm doing things. Hello, Mary. I'm so glad you guys found me, and I'm sorry I didn't give you more notice. Okay. I was going to do the stocking, as you see here, by request from several of you last week. And it took me a while to find it because the day after last week's show, I became sick. I came down with a bout of diverticulitis, which is something that I deal with every now and then. And so I've not been feeling well for the last week. And now today, the fire is really smoky out there and it's just sitting over my area. So I'm feeling a different kind of icky today. So bear with me. I decided I would do something that's really easy for me so that I don't fumble a lot. One of the things I like is to have a really pretty table at Christmas or Thanksgiving. And you can also do this with any fabric any time of the year. So if you've ever want to have your table setting look like a fine dining establishment and thought, well, I don't have a serger, so I can't do it. You can using my Satinedge Foot and just any fabric that you have in your sewing room, or if you feel the need to go buy some fabric, well, this is the time to do it. Also, the coupon that we've had running for the Halloween sale, I extended it because apparently I didn't have it turned on to go all the way up to midnight on Halloween. So some people were upset with me because I guess, were in there just before midnight. And also remember, I'm Mountain Standard Time. So if I have a midnight coupon and you're after my bedtime, the coupon will end. I have extended it until 11:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time tonight. So if you didn't get to take advantage of the 20% off that we have running, go ahead and type in member20, which is all uppercase. Let's see, I'll enter that into the chat for you guys. And got the sniffles from this smoke, and all I can tell you is I hope that it is the fire and I'm not getting something else, because one of the people I live with is sick right now. Number 20 is the coupon. Did I spell it right? I'm not even going to take a chance. I'll just backspace. Can't see from how far away I am. So does the sound better this week, you guys? Give me a thumbs up if it does, because I want to make sure you all can hear me. This coupon is for creativefeet.com, and there you go. Okay, so one of the things, I have no idea what that was. Whose place am I in anyway? One of the things I like to do is I like to have my napkin look good on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to do a double-sided napkin and show you how I do it. You could take and make a template that's 14 inches square, or if you have one of these square rulers, which I thought you were right there. Where did I put it? There it is. So if you have a template like this, that'll help you cut out your napkins. This one is only 11 inches though. It's a little small for a napkin for a table. So I'm going to cut mine at 14 inches and let you guys help me pick or choose which fabrics I use. Where is everybody? I hope everyone's okay. I know I was 5 minutes late, but I did schedule it to start 5 minutes late. So these are some of the fabrics that I have to choose from. And this one's all dirty, or it has a bunch of fur on it from who knows what. So I was hesitating to use it. All my regulars are not here. It is Thursday, right? Okay. And these are definitely not as bright as they look right here. They're more subdued. So, what do you think? Should I make one with these, or should I keep it in just the reds? This one's got a little sparkly texture to it. See how pretty that one is? All right. All right, so the people that love to tell me what to do are not in here today. Did you guys have a good Halloween? The easiest way to cut something square and have the edges be clean instead of ruffly like that is to cut after you fuse the fabrics together. And I am going to fuse the fabrics together using the Infuse stabilizer. I can't find my open roll. So I guess I'm going to open a roll. You want the floral? So not this one. So like this one, a prettier one, or these two together. I think that this one complements that one more. All right. All right, so I think I'm making you guys both happy because we've got sparkly and floral. And I think that'll make a pretty napkin, even if it's not Christmas time. And know, Amy, that I am going to do a video for the Christmas stocking. I'm probably going to produce an edited video for that. But this is the stocking, and it's quite involved. There's a lot of different techniques on it, so it's not as simple as something I would normally do on a live show. I know that I have gone and done 3-week projects before, but I don't want to do that unless I really don't. I want to vary the show more. So the pattern I found, and all of that took time. And for those of you who don't know, that I got sick right after the show last week, so I've been not feeling well. Today we have a fire. I don't know if you're feeling the fire smoke coming down to Phoenix, Amy, or not. Have you ever sewn the edge of a piece of fabric and it's sewed fine this way, and then you turn the fabric and you go that way and then it stretches out? If you have, hit the thumbs up button. Tell me about it. So when we make a napkin, it's similar to trying to make a scarf. A lot of people try to make scarves out of beautiful fabrics that they find, and they cut a square and they think, oh, I'm going to make this beautiful scarf and really enjoy it. And then you find out that you can only sew on 2 sides, and the other directions it just stretches all out of shape, or maybe even drops into the throat plate of your sewing machine and gets stuck to your sewing machine. Hello, Sharon. Welcome. That's all right. I'm a late start today as well. I don't remember using that much water last week. Okay. I feel like I have a Halloween hangover because I was not well, and then I couldn't let the kids down. So I decorated, and then the next day I felt really awful because I ate some chocolate. For those of you who know that I have had a lot of food allergies, I can't eat like candy bars that are sold because I think it's the mold release, whatever they spray on the mold so that every candy bar has the same shape. I think that's what I'm allergic to still. So I partook of a candy and I regretted it tremendously that night. It's been a rough week for Claire. Oh my gosh, talking in the third person. So is the sound better? Turns out the microphone had kind of spun itself, and that pointed the condenser part of the microphone to the ceiling or to the wall, I think. So last week the microphone picked up a truck driving by outside instead of my voice, and usually you can't hear that kind of stuff. Okay. I'm just going to kind of tear fabric this week. I don't know. I'll look and see if I have the salvage on this so I can tell you guys where to get this one. I don't know how many years it's been since I bought it. This could be 15 years old. Do you guys have fabric that old? I have some fabric that's 50 years old. Maybe even older than that. Well, I don't want to waste any, so let's see. All right, get you out of the way. Okay. So previously we only had the Fuse and Fuse in 9-inch wide rolls. Now we have it in 15-inch rolls. So you can create napkins that are 15-inch wide, and 14 I think is a good size. This does not want to be opened. This is similar to the Wonder Under, except for this is much better. And when it's in the fabric, it's nearly indetectable. So it's not going to stiffen up your napkins as much as others might. And this doesn't gum up the sewing machine needle at all. We don't want to ever cut paper with our sewing scissors. You already know that, right? Have you ever had to chase somebody down in your house that took your scissors to do some paper craft project? So before taking the time to make this into a perfect napkin, I'm going to iron this down and use the correct scissors. I try not even to use my rotary cutter on paper. I think the mic is a lot better, huh? This is sounding loud. This is really nice because it's printable. You can tape you can take a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and print out a design for applique, and you print it out upside down. Then you take the paper after the design is printed on, and you can tape this over the design and just little pieces of it, and then put it back through the printer and print out your fusibles so that you're not wasting a bunch of the stabilizer. And then you don't have to trace through your designs. But today we're just doing a basic napkin and making sure that the stabilizer stays within the line or within the border of the fabric. Don't use steam. And the reason you don't use steam is because you can burn yourself. The steam will shoot out the bottom of the iron, and this paper is a solid, so the steam has nowhere to go but toward you. You do want to use a high setting, like a cotton setting. So now I am making a fusible floral fabric. This is the same fabric I did a pot holder, and I quilted the bottom of the pot holder. I spoke with someone on the phone yesterday, and she said, "Have you ever heard of a rubber husband?" And I was not expecting her to say that. And I just started giggling. And she told me about it, and so I think it's a good gift idea, but I'm going to make it a little bit more exciting because they're pretty much just sewn like an empty pillow, and this is the shelf liner that's really sticky, that helps you open jars. And I happen to have a round piece of just this that I use already for that. So I'm going to be doing something like that soon on the show, probably next show. But it's going to be cuter so that you can make gifts for people who have a hard time opening jars. Do you have a hard time opening jars? I have really short fingers. And I also have a hard time getting my hand around the jar. So just holding the jar or opening the lid is not my only challenge. So I'm thinking about a combination. I don't know. We'll see. Meanwhile, I've been designing it in my head since yesterday. Sorry, I know it's kind of boring to watch someone iron. Do any of you have any questions for me while we're waiting for this to cool down? You do want to make sure it is cooled down. Otherwise, the adhesive part could end up staying on the paper when you go to remove it. And we're going to fuse wrong sides together so that both sides are right sides. This is also a fantastic thing to do to make wallet inserts where you want, where you put the dollar bills. So you can take fabrics and fuse them together and then fold them. And you can have an accordion fold, so one side is one color and the next one is the next color and the next one is the next color, and that sounds redundant. A rubber husband, yes. So if you Google a rubber husband, that's what someone came up with. I love it when people come up with these cute ideas or cute names. I cannot identify or determine who named it that. If any of you know for sure who named it that, feel free to give them the credit in the chat, because I do like to cite people. So Amy, you came in late. I want to show you what I did. I have added this camera. So I can actually move it around as well. And it's a little wobbly right now. I'll be working on that and getting that to not be so wobbly. Isn't that exciting? I did not fuse it all the way over here. Take your time. We have been going through over a month of daily controlled burns up here, but this one, I don't know, it's so big. I don't think this is a controlled burn anymore. I think maybe it got out of control. But I've had just about enough of breathing smoke 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No complaining, right? Better to have good forest management than to have a major forest fire. Honey, I'm home. Hi, Wendy. Come on, Claire. So I guess they call it a rubber husband because this is rubbery, and you know how you always have to go, honey, can you open this jar? I'll give you a look at this stuff if you haven't seen it before. I spent $13 at Walmart for this. It's a sizable amount. I couldn't get a smaller amount. So I shouldn't do that because I was going to show it next week. But if you've seen this before, it's shelf liner, and it's sticky, and it really is wonderful for opening jars. Makes your hands like a tree frog. You can grab and hold on to things. I would have had this all done had my computer not had to reboot. Just one of those days. This paper can actually be used as a pressing cloth. So I try to peel it off without tearing it, and then I have a big square that I can use as a pressing cloth. we go. And it's really got nice movement. See how nice the movement is? Even though the fusible is on there. In fact, sometimes I have not been able to tell that I have the fusible fabric, and I have ironed. Yes, I have ironed my fabric onto things I did not want to iron it on. So before you cut out the shape or the size of your napkin, you could do several yards of this. Just roll it out. Make sure that there's no wrinkles. Hello. Oh yes, the Adirondacks. Didn't you take a hike on the, what is that trail? There's a trail that goes through the Adirondacks. What's it called, you guys? The Appalachian Trail. Do I remember correctly, Wendy, that you did that? I feel like one of you did. And doesn't it take like weeks to hike? Oh, you know, I think it was one of my members of my Babbling Brook course inside of Create with clarerowley. Now that there's no paper, I'm going to put it on steam and push the steam through so that it bonds really nicely to both fabrics. Bad knees, I understand that. If you're ever falling and your cell phone is in your hand, let the cell phone get crushed. Do not try to save it and then end up hurting yourself worse. That is what put me in the hospital with a broken shoulder. If I had just put my hand down and let the phone be destroyed, I would not have had to have surgery, and my knee would probably be fine to this day. They're up north in New York, huh? I've been a lot of places, but I have not been there. So I only got one request in the email for a project for the holiday gift sewing that I'm going to be doing now through the holidays. And it was blank. So whoever tried to do it couldn't figure out how to type. I don't know. Feel free to just use the contact form at creativefeet.com, or you can send me a message inside of the school. What I did not explain, and I should have done a better job, is that I didn't just iron these two fabrics together. I crossed the grain. So you know how one way it stretches? When you stretch it and it stretches out this way, it's not stretchy. And this way it is stretchy. So that then makes this fabric stop this fabric from stretching, and you end up with no chance of having a problem with sewing across. And that is one of the reasons I like to do the double-sided napkins. Not to mention they're prettier. You had snow yesterday. Anybody else have snow? We've been under a freeze warning up here, so we've been having to cover the plants the last few nights. But no snow here yet. I'm going to shorten the time I take to do this. Sorry if I'm not as good as I usually am. I wish I felt better than I do. I'm not going to just wing it. Let's see. Scissors for cutting. I just don't want to waste any fabric. No snow, but in the UK, but you have had a bad storm today. Oh. Definitely easier to create a template if you don't have one already cut for a 16 or 14 inch square. There we go. I know it may seem like I don't know what I'm doing half the time. But it is because I had a rough technical day. I think we're going to have a good overall experience. If it goes as well as it did last time, I was so pleased. So if you ever had a fire in your area and you itched like crazy, that's what's going on. It must be allergic to whatever's burning. I just want to curl up and go to sleep. What is on your sewing table, you guys? Share with me. Another really neat thing about the Satinedge Foot, you don't have to do a square napkin. We can do heart-shaped corners, and where's that napkin I have? So you can go outside of the norm. And I could create a pattern like that with maybe poinsettias in the corners. I wish I could hear you guys. Did you guys have many trick-or-treaters this year? Any of you dress up? I dressed up. There we go. See why I recommend a template? Because if you had a template, you could just lay it right on top and go thump, 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 instead of trying to figure out where or how far something was fused. These are like 2.5 inch strips, so I can use these for piecing. Squaring it off. All right, you guys, I'm sleepy. I don't think I'm getting enough oxygen. All right, would you like me to just leave it pointy? Probably, huh? Because it's difficult for a lot of you to turn corners. Have you ever had a hard time turning a corner on a piece of fabric? It's gonna be so cool to have this other camera angle. I haven't given it its own button yet on my little button thing yet. So I have to use the mouse. So this is the Satinedge Foot right here. And you can see that it has a little wire coming out of the white guide. And what that does is it mimics what a serger does. This is the pearls and piping foot I used last week. And each of the creative feet do fit all sewing machines. For those of you who are not familiar with our sewing machine attachments, they come with Singer slant, low shank, high shank, adapters, and if you have a Bernina, you can just use a Bernina adapter in addition to what's in the package, like that. And then our adapters just snap right on to the foot. I don't know if that's better than this. This is the baby lock machine made by Brother. So if you have a Brother baby lock machine, you'll be able to just snap our feet right on. This is the color choice. I could use a yellow or go with a red color. What do you guys think? Red or yellow? These cameras are definitely not showing the actual colors. Or I could go green. Come on. This green does not want to come out of my thing. And that's actually Christmas green, not that blue green. Yellow. Anybody else have an opinion? We got two yellows. All right, I have to wind a bobbin. This is one of the times when you do not want to have two different weights of thread. You want to have the same weight on the needle and the bobbin. Otherwise, the bottom will look different than the top. And I can't believe you all agreed on yellow. That's unusual. This is the Polyfast number 3251, and it is a 40 weight thread, so I'm going to go ahead and use it to wind a bobbin, so I have the exact same weight in the needle and the bobbin. We're going to be up to in the mid 70s tomorrow. If any of you have ever had difficulty winding a bobbin and knowing how to do it, a lot of people are taught to hold on to the thread until it breaks while the machine is winding it, and that is not a good idea because the thread gets really tight on the bobbin, and then when you go to end, or when the bobbin is running out, all of a sudden it'll pull and your stitch quality will suffer. So I let it go up and down like 4 times and then stop it, and then release the little twists that occur, and then cut it really close to the bobbin. Then you can go ahead and let it finish. And I'm going to want a full bobbin of this. If I wanted to make a bunch of napkins, definitely want to have a bobbin that's full. If you want to make napkins faster, you can use 2 threads through the eye of 1 needle, and that fills up more space, but the bottom will not be as full as the top. However, you can also wind a bobbin with woolly nylon thread so that the bobbin is fuller to begin with. So you end up being able to make your napkins faster if you're into manufacturing items and selling them on Etsy and stuff. These are ways of doing things quicker so you make more money, because your time is your most expensive commodity. Your dog distracted you. What color? Everybody voted on yellow. You could put different color in the needle and the bobbin, but I think it looks a little messy on a napkin. You could also use variegated, which is pretty and less likely to show any flaws that might happen. This is definitely a time when you don't want to skimp on the quality of your thread. Also, you know, remember it's going to be touching people's mouths, and well, hopefully. I had cloth napkins one year and everyone was like, I don't want to use them, they're too pretty. And I'm like, that's, so what? Do it anyway. Okay. Let's see how we go here. This camera is just a cheap little webcam that I've had. So I was going to get it in my hand and show you the settings instead of having to draw pictures. See how this goes. Whether or not I keep this for the future or not with all this other stuff I have in my way. Okay, so we're going to select a zigzag stitch, and I'm choosing a width that I like. Now my machine is standard at 3.5 millimeter. I'm going to go to 4, and the stitch length, I'm pretty good at judging how short my stitch length should be. I'm going to take it to 0.05, but I would actually probably go all the way to 0.3. If you don't know what your machine behavior is, then go ahead and go up. Take it to, you can even go to like 0.7 to be safe. Thread tension, mine's normal at 4. I'm taking it down to 3, so that's 1 stitch length or 1 tension setting less than normal. Is it worth me having this extra camera now? Was that good? All right. It's a little bit wobbly, but I can get that dealt with. And let's see. I'm always trying to make the show better each week, so always don't hesitate to ask me if something isn't quite as good as you think it should be, like the sound wasn't as good as it could have been last week. And I hadn't, if it wasn't brought up, I wouldn't have discovered that the microphone had flipped over and was recording the ceiling. Now there is a little wire inside the foot, and turn the nut or the sewing machine needle and swing it. And this is what I'm going to be doing, and bringing the needle down the right swing of the zigzag stitch, then turning the nut on the foot, moving the guide over to it. And I will show you this as well. This camera needs its own button now. This nut, when I turn it, changes the location of the wire on the foot. With the foot attached, to the sewing machine. It'll be easier for you to see it with this side facing up. I have to hold it in my hand. Let me pick it up. The sewing machine was already set, so now I turn the hand wheel and lower the needle in the right swing of the zigzag stitch. And then you turn the nut on the foot and move the wire, or that's actually a pin. I call it the guide pin or guide wire. So you can see how this moves it a distance away. This is how you can get seam allowances. You can get 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, scant 1/4 inch. But if I take it all the way to the needle, and this is what we do for the Serger mimicking, and this is the foot I designed for a blind woman who was taking tailoring at the Brielle Institute when we met. So the left swing is going to go on the fabric, and right swing is going to go over the guide pin, and now you can see that, uh-oh, my needle is too close. So this is why we always double check and then move the guide over. And now it's touching the needle, but that's okay. It's actually okay if it touches the needle as long as it doesn't hit the needle with the point. Or it's good as long as the needle point doesn't hit that wire direct. I still feel like I need to move it a little bit more that way, so I will. Now I take and place the guide so that it sits off the fabric's edge. And I pull it away like that to make sure that the guide wire is actually off the edge of the fabric, and then I'll bring the fabric back. I also do not start on the corner. I always start in from the corner. Whichever side of the napkin you feel will be the one that you consider top or correct, it's really up to you. I'm going to show it this way because I think it'll be easier for you to see on camera. You want to make sure that the needle thread is underneath the toe of the foot and to the left, and then hold your finger down on it for the first couple stitches, just to make sure that the take-up lever, the arm that goes up and down, doesn't take the thread and pull it right back out. And you can leave this tail hanging out for when we come back around, and we'll use a method to tie that off so that you know that they'll never unravel on you. If you need glasses, this is definitely when you want to wear them, because you really need to make sure that they actually touch one another, but that the guide wire is not causing the needle to deflect slightly, because a few times up it could come right back down and hit the guide pin. So I'm going to use my glasses and look and see. I can see that it is in the correct position now. My sound is in sync. Then I'll get my face off the screen. It should be. Here we go. Oh, somehow this camera got way off from where it should be. Close tight. Let's see. Bear with me. Well, it's a little out of focus. As I'm sewing, I'm looking and not holding the fabric, not not pulling from behind or pulling toward me. I have my hand cradling the fabric instead, and the stitches are not as close as I like them to be. So I'm shortening the stitch length as I knew I would anyway, because I remember when I began I said 0.3 would probably be the right setting or the correct setting, and I used a 0.7. So now I'm taking it to 0.4, and without holding on, I'm checking to see that the setting is correct. And if I hold on, I hinder the feeding of the fabric. So I can go down to the 0.3. People ask, how can a blind person sew? And generally they have a helper around. But when it came to the design of this foot, she wanted to make napkins, and it was the year the Serger came out, and there was no way I was going to sell her a Serger. I was a sewing machine dealer at the time. So this is what I developed for her, was a foot to make it so she could sew without having to be able to see and be able to maintain stitching on the edge of fabric, which without the Satinedge foot is pretty much impossible to get this beautiful look that I'm achieving. And see if I can get a better angle on this camera. So you saw how little I was paying attention. Welcome, Lori, and it's okay. I was late. I started 5 minutes later than usual. My foot control is getting away from me. So the tricky part is getting to the edge and turning the corner for many of you. I'm going to go all the way to the end of the fabric and then hit the reverse button and go back a few stitches. Stop with the needle in the raised position. Then you lift the foot and push the fabric away. And as I do that, these stitches will drop off of the guide. I went too far, so I didn't know that because I wasn't looking close enough. You turn. See, if I hadn't gone too far, then the stitches wouldn't be off the edge like that. See how nice and consistent the width is of that stitch though? I wish I could do this and hold this at the same time, but I just simply can't. So I'm going to put this down. I don't have 3 hands. But now I have that ball of thread, and I'm going to just let it hang there and hope it gets itself tucked in. Increase my stitch length from the 0.3 to 0.7. And then once it starts to feed, shorten it back down again. It wasn't quite feeding. There we go. So you pay attention on your corners. It's so blurry. I'm going to try to focus this camera better. I work too hard to have something be blurry. Okay, almost done. The difference between a live show and a recorded show is you get the real me. You love that view, the top view. Let's see if you like this better. Whoopsie. That is not what I did. There. Okay. So the goal, or what you're focused on, is this spot right here. You want to make sure there's no space between the edge of the fabric and the guide. You just bring it together and sew. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this camera and I'm going to have both hands on it and go like this. As I'm doing that, the fabric is being handled by the foot. So I don't have it set up to show you both at the same time, but that is the goal, is to have like 2 cameras at a time. So let's get me back to this little webcam, and here we go. Amy, you asked stitch length and stitch width. So this is stitch width of 4 and the length is 0.3. Whoops, sorry guys. I don't know if this camera can keep up with the speed of the sewing machine or not. Oh, oops. You're right, I did it at 3. So I'm going to come all the way to the corner and do another corner. This time I'll succeed. So I'm putting my glasses on right now. And now my hand is here and ready. So to the end, but you don't want to go off of it. Then you hit your reverse button, blink, and sew a few stitches back. And stop with the needle in the raised position, lift the foot, pull off the guide wire, and then turn. So this is basically like a stitch finger on a serger. If any of you have a serger, you probably are seeing how similar it is to that. And I can't do this one-handed, so I'm going to switch cameras. Spare you all the wobbliness. Switch to the other camera and show you something. Whoops. What kind of angle is that, and how did I do that? on the guide, the wire is off the edge of the fabric, and I have the thread itself going around the guide. So when you go to turn a corner, you want to have the thread go around the wire before you go ahead and start sewing again, and increase your stitch length. I'm going all the way to 0.7, and that is to give the machine more feeding over that thread that we've already stitched, so you don't end up with a pile up. And you sew until the fabric is advancing without you having to push or pull it through. Then shorten it back down again. And I do it sometimes in couple touch intricates. And now I'm back to definitely 0.3. So much for a perfect napkin, Amy. And don't let it get between you and the table. This is the posture, elbows down, shoulders relaxed, kind of supporting the fabric. At one point I was leaning and I held on to the napkin between me and the table, which made it stop feeding a little bit. So going all the way down to the very shortest stitch length is more difficult, because you got to watch it more in case you do something to cause it not to feed. Hello. Is this another Wendy? Hi, Wendy Harper. Yeah, we have two Wendy's in here. So it gets a little boring because it's so easy to maintain the edge. And since you have your two fabrics fused together, they don't shift or stretch out at all, and you end up with a beautiful finish all the way around. Once again, I'm going to the end, stopping with the needle in the raised position at the end. So now's when I have to look. Needle is up. I push the reverse button and go back. Lift the foot, push off the guide, plant my finger, and then spin it around. Make sure that the thread is over the wire, so that when the take-up lever starts to move, it won't pull the thread and cause your napkin to go down into the machine. Then you increase your stitch length. That eliminates you having to pull or push the fabric through. Once you see it feed, shorten it back down again to close to its original setting, and then when you know you've got it, you can go all the way down to your setting. To ensure that the napkin never falls apart, I also recommend doing 2 rows of straight stitches all the way around before doing the satin stitch. That will lock the fabric even more and eliminate any chance of it ever falling apart on the edges. I'm glad you guys told me to use yellow. It looks good. I like it. I like it because I can use this all year round as well. It doesn't have to be Christmas, but it kind of goes with the Christmas theme. So would you guys like me to make a rubber husband for next week? Come up with a unique twist on it. If you do, type in rubber husband or rubber or a thumbs up in the chat, and I'll know that you're on board for that. I think they're going to be a really good gift idea, and that's what I'd like to focus on the rest of the year, is things that you can make as presents. pulling off the guide wire, turning, placing the guide off the edge again, making sure that the thread is to the right of the guide wire, and then increase your stitch length. I didn't know what a rubber husband was either, but now I do. So rather than making exactly the same as everybody else, I'm going to come up with a different idea to make it maybe more versatile. A rubber husband is a thing that you hold in your hand and it helps you open jars. So now I'm at the point where I'm overlapping the beginning and the end, and I'm going to go in and over it by increasing the stitch length a little bit. And then you can take and pull your thread out and stitch right over it. You can also tie a knot or use a straight stitch. Set your straight stitch so that it's going to go to the side of that stitch by moving the guide on the foot. Now the foot is a tops or an edge stitch foot. So this is a straight stitch. And now it really looks like a serger was used because you have that little straight stitch going along the edge. Then I'm going to go ahead and go around. This is a lot faster. Even I am not as good as that. I'm not able to go that fast without the help of the foot. Lower the needle on the corner, lift and turn. Whoop. Don't lose track. Don't start looking at the needle. Foot, just keep it up against the edge of the foot. Stop with the needle down. By the way, an 80-12 needle would be fine for this, but a 90-14 allows you to put 2 threads through the eye of the needle if you wanted to speed up the process. I'm going to show you how to take it over the top. If you are trying to make money from your sewing, the difference between getting the sale is making yours stand out from everybody else's. And you want to make a higher price ticket item. You also want a customer that says, these napkins never fall apart. Sustainability, washability, softness, all these things matter. Now I'm going to switch it around and sew on this side. Select a zigzag stitch that's narrower in width. I'm trying to get that camera set up here. So still on the zigzag stitch, I'm just going to take this down to a 1 millimeter wide width. So that's the wrong setting. Having this extra camera makes my brain work a little bit harder. How come it's on 0? Oh, because I didn't push it. Zigzag stitch. There we go. Now everything's making sense. Now we take the width down to 1.0 and the length we're going to go to 0. I'm going to do 0.4 and show you what it is that we're doing. I think I'm starting to like the camera. With a width of 1, I now want the needle to just swing on either side of the wire. So turning the nut, moving the guide over, and I'm going to use the side of the foot to ride along the edge of the stitch that's there. Go back a little bit for a secure stitch. So this is where your eye is focused now. And what this is creating is a raised satin stitch on the fabric. So I'm basically just put my finger right here and I'm using it like a guide, but you can also use one of the pressers for this as well. Easier than your finger. And this is my positioning presser on the side, elbows down again, shoulders relaxed. You can see the fabric is curling up inside of the machine. So I want to make sure I keep an eye on the machine, that it doesn't hinder or stop feeding because of anything maybe catching on the fabric or the fabric catching on anything. But not looking at the needle area. If I were, I'd be doing this. So I'm looking at the side of the foot, making sure it stays along that fabric edge or that stitching line that we sewed already. Coming up to the corner, this is when it gets a little tricky because you want to stop at the right moment. And I haven't measured that, so I'm going to get out. I have this cute little ruler somewhere. Let's see what size that is. So it's just under a 1/2 inch. So it's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. And that's where we want to stop. Now this would be a good thing to do, is to measure before you ever start the distance from the needle to the edge of the fabric so that you aren't guessing on when to stop. Since I didn't think ahead of time, I'm going to kind of look at this and go, okay, I need to stop right about there. And it's okay to not lower the needle. In fact, you don't want to lower the needle because you have to get this thread off of the guide pin. It's all blurry. Got to get the thread off of the guide pin. And now we're going to turn this way. And I can tell that that's not in the right spot because the foot edge has to be right along there. So I know I need to go about another 1/8 of an inch. Definitely don't want to have to do this on every corner, so this is the make or break it, you know, on making it look pretty. Off, spin it around again. now we're starting behind the row of stitching. And as before, you may need to increase your stitch length just a little bit. It's going over a lot of thread there. And then shorten it back down once it feeds. And then now again, I'm looking at the inside of this stitch and just putting my finger there to make sure that fabric doesn't move away from the foot. And then you get this, see, that's a little sloppy because I didn't know the spacing. So we want to know the spacing, and I want to stop before on this one, so I'm going to mark it. Oh, I know what I need to do. I needed to mark the machine. Oh well. I'm not perfect. I try to be perfect. Just like when I show that binding technique and I show you how to stop 1/4 inch away from the edge, I have you use tape and tape on your machine. That's what we need to do. We need to get a little bit of washi tape on the machine so you know where the fabric needs to approach and then stop in order to have your corners be perfect on there. Another trick would be to go around and do a straight stitch first and then zigzag over it, but what did Lori say? The fuse and fuse. You'll find that at creativefeet.com under our stabilizers link. It's the one with the purple label and the dragonfly on it. So yes, it takes a little while to sew. It takes a lot longer than a serger. However, the serger stitch is more likely to unravel because it isn't a knot stitch. I'm hoping I've got this right. And if this is right, it's right at the throat plate. Right on the edge of the throat plate. This is governed by your sewing machine, so you're not going to be able to use the same numbers as me unless you have the same machine. But it was. Well, that's nice. A much prettier corner. And I'll show you. Much better, huh? So I was able to just stop it when the fabric got up to the edge of that throat plate. It's probably engineered that way, so you know, because it's a 5/8 inch spacing from the side of the foot to the guide wire with my sewing machine width set at a 1 millimeter wide width. So if your machine is not the same brand as mine, your 1 millimeter wide zigzag stitch might be just a little bit left or a little bit right to where mine is. So you can always test this out before you make your napkin to know. But I love the look of this, and you can add more to it as well. This doesn't add a lot of weight, but it adds a little bit of class to it. You guys like that look? You already have the fuse and fuse. There you go. Got the Satinedge foot, the fuse and fuse. You're good to go. Just need the fabric and determination. And There is a lady on Etsy that gets a lot for her. I think she does a whole set. She does a picnic basket, I think. I might be confusing her with somebody else. But she goes, I was only getting a certain amount for my napkin. Once I added that extra row of stitching, I was able to charge a lot more for my napkin sets. And so just a little something. It's just like if you're going to make money decorating t-shirts and you want to maybe put some paint on and do a little applique, put some rhinestones, pearls, or sequins. Just adding those pearls and sequins takes the shirt up to a much higher price point. Needle up, push off the guide, swing it around with my finger planted so I don't end up with a loop of thread. Should you end up with a loop of thread, you can just pull the thread back toward the spool to pull that loop out and still have a pretty napkin. So once you get the hang of how the foot guides for you, or helps you guide straight, despite camera equipment and stuff being in your way, you'll find that you can sit in a comfortable way and you don't have to hunch over and try to look at the needle. 332. Thanks for being here again, you guys. And if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. I am almost finished with showing you how to make your own napkins. You can also use this to finish the edge of placemats. Should you want to do a real easy placemat, you just fuse the fabrics together with a Timtex or a thicker double-sided fusible batting, and you could just stitch around the edge, and you don't even have to do much more than that. Or you could look up my binding technique and do binding, or finish it with a binded edge. Almost done. Coming up on the mark on the machine, lift, push off the guide, turn, and we're 5 inches from finished. Am I still out of sync with my mouth? Because that should not have happened. Last week I said October 1st for the Creative Feet Extensive, and it was already October, so that was a mistake. I had no idea I was getting sick last Thursday, but I was, so. Now I can switch to a straight stitch. So a couple stitches to secure that. Oh, I didn't push the button. And there's the completed napkin that you can fold any which way that you fold. I am not a napkin folder specialist, that's for sure. Are any of you really good at folding napkins? Which way would you have it? Would you have the colored part outside, or? Well, that's not the way to do it. See, I'm not good at everything. I'm really not good at any knitting. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a napkin, and next week there'll be another project that you can do for the holidays. whether you're using this for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. I hope you found it beneficial. And if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I sure hope you'll do so today if you're on the YouTube channel right now. Or join my groups at in the Facebook, or become a member of my online community, Create with Claire Rowley. It's a free community. Join in there and be more friendly. Become friends with people within the chat today. Next week, we're going to have a better week. Hopefully they'll stop burning in our area and I can function better. Thank you all for joining me. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button on your way out. And if you're seeing this on the replay, leave a comment in the comments. What would you like me to show you between now and Christmas? What gift ideas would you like me to show? I've already done the bowl cozy, so I'm not thinking that that would be good, but I'll tell you what, great gifts, the bowl cozies. I've done 2 videos on that, and I also have a video talking about the fire, all the stuff they talk about, things catching on fire. So be sure to look inside of my channel, and you can search in it for bowl cozies and Claire Rowley to get to my videos on that, should you want to make some of those and know that you're doing the right thing. Or once again, just join createwithclarerowley.com, where you'll find all kinds of information and have access to me when I'm not live. Thank you all. Bye.